Shalom, Mr. God. It's your brother Bethel back again, and that is to say peace, family. In today's video, we are going to read about the Feast of Purim. What is it? When is it? Why is it? With that, we're going to start with the book of Esther, chapter 9, and verse 20. And Mordecai wrote these things and sent letters unto all the Yehudi that were in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus, both nigh and far. You may have heard me say Yehudi. We know that there were no J's, and we know that our Savior's name is, as many of you already know, Yeshua, because his name was not Jesus. There were no J's, right? So, what are the Jews actually called? If there's no J's, then that would have to apply to the whole book, right? So, who were the Jews? What were the Jews actually called? When you look into the text, it says Yehudi, Yehudi. Okay, so that's what the Jews or the tribe of the tribe of Judah would have been called, which there's the Jews and then there's the Israelites. Not all Israelites are Jews, right? All Jews are Israelites, but not all Israelites are Jews. There's 12 tribes. The particular tribe in question that is called Jews are typically the tribe of Judah or the southern kingdom of the Israelites. But you can what the Israelites as whole are typically lumped up as Jews, but specifically the tribe of Judah are the Jews because there's also a tribe of Issachar, right? Naphtali, Asher, Zebulun, etc. So another name for Jews are Yehudi. All right, I'll read that verse again. And Mordecai wrote these things and sent letters unto all the Yehudi that were in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus, who is also known as Artaxerxes, both nigh and far, to establish this among them, that they should keep the 14th day of the month Adar, and the 15th day of the same yearly. So the month of Adar is the 12th month on the biblical calendar. Let's get you some Google, right? Just so do the work. Brother Beth will do the work for you. When is the 12th biblical month, and what is it called? Oh,
The 12th biblical month is Adar, and it usually falls during February and March on the Gregorian calendar. It marks the end of the Hebrew year, a time for celebration and joy.
right. Verse 22. As the days wherein the Yehudi rested from their enemies, and the month which was turned unto them from sorrow to joy, from morning into a good day, that there should make them that they should make them the days of feasting and joy, and had begun as Mordecai had written unto them, because Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of all the Yehudi, had devised against the Yehudi to destroy them, and cast pur, that is the lot, to consume them and to destroy them. But when Esther came before the king, he commanded by letters that his wicked device, which he devised against the Yehudi, should return upon his own head, and that let me not ruin that part for you. We're going to go back now, and let's see what came about. Well, I'll just read that last part. And that he and his son should be, we'll save it. But if you were looking, you got it. Let's go back, though, and find out what led up to this. All right. So let's go back to Esther chapter 1. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Gotta love the Bible. Don't love it. This is our historical text. We love it. How do we know it's ours? You've been wondering what Black history was all this time? Sitting right here on Grandma's coffee table. It's just the narrative about it has been changed. They told us something else. All right. The book of Esther, chapter 1. Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus. This is, remember, Ahasuerus is Artaxerxes. Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus. So, if you like to look up Ahasuerus or Artaxerxes, there's been more than one Xerxes. Okay, so just know that. Artaxerxes, Ahasuerus. All right. Let's let's look that up right quick. Let's see which one is this. Which Xerxes ruled during the time of Queen Esther?
The Xerxes who ruled during Queen Esther's time was Xerxes I, also known as Ahasuerus. He ruled the Persian Empire from 485 to 465 BC and was the son of Darius the Great.
There you have it. This is Xerxes the first. So, and that is from the Persian Empire, 485 to 465 BC. He he is recognized as the son of Darius the Great and ruled from Susa over 127 provinces, matching historical descriptions of his reign. Name, identity, while the book of Esther calls the king Ahasuerus. This is the Hebrew translation of the Persian name. I'm not about to try to do that. I'm going to botch that name, which the Greeks called Xerxes. Gotcha. Which the Greeks called Xerxes. The events in the book of Esther are typically set in his capital city of Susa, Shushan, around 478 BC. He is well known for his military campaigns against Greece and for being the grandson of Cyrus the Great. Okay, let's get back into it. Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus. This is Ahasuerus, which reigned from India, which was actually called Hindustan. Okay? India was never called India back in these days. And if you guys and girls have been studying, you know that the place we call India today is actually called Hindustan. Um, I'm gonna leave it at that. We're not gonna try to get derailed. I don't want to take us off on a tangent. But this is actually Hindustan. Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus. This is Ahasuerus, which reigned from Hindustan even unto Ethiopia, which would also be known as Cush, over 170 and over 107 and 20 provinces. That in those days, when the king Ahasuerus sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan the palace, excuse me, in the third year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes and his servants, the power of Persia and Media, the nobles and princes of the provinces being before him, when he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty many days, and even 100 and 80 days. And when these days were expired, the king made a feast unto all the people that were present in Shushan the palace, both unto great and small, 7 days in the court of the garden of the king's palace, where were white, green, and blue hangings talking about curtains, fastened with cords of fine linen, and purple to silver rings, and pillars of marble. The beds were of gold and silver upon a pavement of red and blue and white and black marble. And they gave them drink in vessels of gold, the vessels being diverse one from another, the royal wine in abundance, according to the state of the king. And the drinking was according to the law. None did compel, for so the king had appointed to all the officers of his house that they should do according to every man's pleasure. Also, Vashti the queen made a feast for the women in the royal house, which belonged to King Ahasuerus. On the seventh day when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Mehumim, Biztha, Harbona, Bigtha, and Abigatha, Zethar, and Carcass, the seven chamberlains that served in the presence of Ahasuerus the king. A chamberlain is another name for a eunuch, all right? Or particularly, a chamberlain is the attendant. A chamberlain is attendant to the king's harem. But chamberlains are eunuchs. They were always eunuchs in these days because they wanted to ensure that the chamberlains could not defile the king's women when he wasn't around. He spent a lot of time away from his harem, and he wanted to ensure that nobody would be trying to uh, defile um, his women. So he would have their genitals removed. They would have them removed. All right. That's why in the Gospels, Christ said, some in Matthew 19, some of us were born eunuchs, and some of us were made eunuchs, and some of us were made eunuchs of men, and some of us are made eunuchs for the kingdom's sake. This will be a situation like that. These men are made eunuchs. You probably have seen that if you watch the Game of Thrones. Remember the the eunuch that was interested in Cersei toward the latter seasons. He had no genitals, but they were warriors, right? Remember? Moving on. The seven chamberlains that served in the presence of Ahasuerus the king to bring Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal, to show the people and the princess her beauty, for she was fair, to look on. But the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. Excuse me. Therefore was the king very wroth, and his anger burned in him. Then the king said to the wise men which knew the times, for so was the king's manner toward all that knew law and judgment. And the next unto him was Karshna, Shethar, Admantha, Tarshish, Meres, Marsena, and Memucan, the seven princes of Persia and Media, which saw the king's face, and which sat the first in the kingdom. What shall we do unto the queen Vashti according to law? Because she had not performed the commandment of the king Ahasuerus by the chamberlains. And Memucan answered before the king and the princes, Vashti the queen hath not done wrong to the king only, but also to the princes and to all the people that are in the province of King Ahasuerus. For this deed the queen shall come abroad unto all women, so they shall despise their husbands in their eyes. And when it shall be reported him, the king Ahasuerus commanded and when it shall be reported, when it shall be reported, the king Ahasuerus commanded Vashti the queen to be brought in before him, but she came not. Likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the king's princes, which have heard of the deed of the queen. Thus shall there arise too much contempt and wrath. So these princes understood, if this word gets out that Queen Vashti is not obeying to the queen's, is not obeying the king's voice, what do you think is going to happen to society? If she can defy the king, well, then regular women, wives, can also defy their husbands, and it could start a domino effect of, hey, we can do what we want. She's our example. So something must be done about this. Keep that in mind when we look at what examples are being set forth in this kingdom. Look at the examples of women and so-called men being set forth in this kingdom to us so-called blacks, to us Yahudi, right? Look what's being sent forth. And our little ones, we think that they may think it can be thought this is okay to conduct oneself like that, right? We see videos of WAP, right? Little Kim coming up, right? And then we think that that's okay. They're on the big screen. This is a bad example. Even know why this stuff is allowed to go forth. Well, we know why, but it's terrible that it goes forth here. But when you go to Dubai, our women don't conduct themselves like that. They cover up. They go there. They act with some sense. That's not the example they want to put forth there, where women can just conduct themselves like that. But let me not go on a tangent. Verse 19. If it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of the Persians and Medes, that it be not altered, that Vashti come no more before King Ahasuerus, and let the king give her royal estate unto another that is better than she. And when the king's decree, which he shall make, be published throughout all his empire, for it is great, all the wives shall give their husbands honor, both to great and small. And the saying pleased the king, and the princes and the king did according to the word of Mamukin. For he sent letters into all the king's provinces, into every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language, that every man should bear rule in his own house, and that it should be published according to the language of every people. After these things, when the wrath of King Ahasuerus was appeased, he remembered Vashti and what she had done, and what was decreed against her. Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, let there be fair young virgins sought for the king, and let the king's appointed officers in all the provinces of his kingdom, that they may gather together all the fair young virgins unto Shushan the palace, to the house of the women, unto the custody of the head of hedge, the king's chamberlain, keeper of the women, and let their things for purification be given them, and let the maidens which pleased the king be, and let the maidens which pleaseth the king be queen instead of Vashti. And the thing pleased the king, and so he did so. So now, after time has passed, and like let's cheer the king up, and choose him some new women, right? And let the best of the women, let's make her queen, excuse me. Now in Shushan the palace there was a certain Yehudi Jew whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjamite, right? Or it would be Benjamin, right? Let's see here. Benyamini. Benyamini, right? A Benjamite, who had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity which had been carried away with Jeconiah, king of Yehuda, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away. All right. And he brought up Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother, and the maid was fair and beautiful from Mordecai, whom Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took for his own daughter. So it came to pass, when the king's commandment and his decree was heard, and when many maidens were gathered together unto Shushan the palace, to the custody of Haggai, that Esther was brought also unto the king's house, to the custody of Haggai, keeper of the women. And the maiden pleased him, and she obtained kindness from him, and he speedily gave her things for purification, with such things as belonged to her, and 7 maidens which were meet to be given her out of the king's house. And he preferred her and her maidens unto the best place of the house of the women. Esther had not showed her people nor her kindred, for Mordecai had charged her that he should not show it. So Mordecai told Esther, his niece, don't reveal to him your people, what ethnicity you are yet. All right. Which, keep that in mind. He couldn't just look at her and figure out what she was. So, um, our women are the exotic women on the planet, right? We have so many different styles to how we look. One can only imagine how Queen Esther actually looked, but she was beautiful. But she did not reveal what her ethnicity was, her nation was, to the king. Reading on. And Mordecai walked every day before the court of the woman's house to know how Esther did and what should become of her. I'm in Esther chapter 2, verse 11. Now, when every maid's turn was come to go in to King Ahasuerus, after that she had been 12 months according to the manner of women, for so were the days of their purification accomplished, to wit 6 months with oil of myrrh, and 6 months with sweet odors, and with other things for the purification of the women. So for 6 months, 12 months 12 months, a year, this woman sat just being pampered with the finest oils, the finest odors, right? Just getting used to the good life before she's brought in to deal with, even meet the king. Then thus came every maiden unto the king. Whatsoever she desired was given her to go with her out of the house of the women unto the king's house. So look, this king, these women ain't all up in the same house. They got their own place that they're located. In the evening she went, and on the morrow she returned into the second house of the women, to the custody of Shashagas, the king's chamberlain. Remember, chamberlain is a eunuch. To the Shashagas, the king's chamberlain, which kept the concubines. She came in unto the king no more, except the king delighted in her, that she were called by name. Now, when the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her for his daughter, was taken her for his daughter, was come to go in unto the king, she required nothing but what Haggai, the king's chamberlain, the keeper of the women, appointed. And Esther obtained favor in sight of all them that looked upon her. So Esther was taken unto King Ahasuerus into his house royal in the 10th month, which is the month Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign. And the king loved Esther above all women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. Verse 18. Then the king made a great feast unto all his princes and his servants, even Esther's feast, and he made a release to the provinces, and gave gifts according to the state of the king. And when the virgins were gathered together the second time, then Mordecai sat in the king's gate. Esther had not yet showed her kindred nor her people, as Mordecai charged her, for Esther did the commandment of Mordecai, like as when she was brought up with him. In those days, while Mordecai sat in the king's gate, two of the king's chamberlains, Bigthan and Teresh, of those which kept the door, were wroth, and sought to lay hands on the king Ahasuerus. And the thing was known to Mordecai, who told it unto Esther the queen. And Esther certified the king thereof in Mordecai's name. And when inquisition was made of the matter, it was found out. Therefore they were both hanged on a tree, and it was written in the book of the Chronicles before the king. So this Mordecai he sent up the hooty hoo. Put the bug in, and he put the bug in Esther's ear. She told the king, "Hey, this man Mordecai just saved your life. Make a note of it. Remember this." After these things, chapter 3 and verse 1. After these things did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, and advanced him, and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. Haman is an Agagite. He is of Agag. He is a descendant of the Edomites, the Macedonians. And all the king's servants that were that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence. Then the king's servants, which were in the king's gate, said unto Mordecai, Why transgressest thou the king's commandment? Now it came to pass, when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matters would stand, for he had told them that he was a Yahudi. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath, and he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had showed him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Yahudi that were there throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, even the people of Mordecai. So for this one transgression, this man thinks, let me destroy not him, let me destroy all his people. Not just him, but let me destroy all his people because this man didn't bow down. The undertaking of such a thing. But, as Edomites may do, he's about to pull up on the king with his feet to have this matter accomplished. Let's see what happens. Verse 7. In the first month, that is the month Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, they cast pur, that is the lot before Haman, from day to day and from month to month, to the 12th month, that is the month Adar. And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, There is a certain people scattered abroad and diverse among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all people, neither keep they the king's laws. Therefore it is not for the king's profit to suffer them. If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have charged of the business, to bring it into the king's treasuries. And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it unto Haman the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, the Yahudi's enemy. And the king said unto Haman, The silver is given to thee, the people also, to do with them as it seemeth good to thee. So, let's see. So he wants to hire people at the price of 10,000 talents to slaughter the Yehudi, to slaughter the Jews, to slaughter our ancestors. King Ahasuerus gives him the royal ring. Make it happen. Let's see. Let's continue on. Verse 12. Then were the king's scribes called on the 13th day of the first month. And there was written according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's lieutenants, and to the governors that were over every province, and to the rulers of every people of every province, according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language. In the name of King Ahasuerus was it written, and sealed with the king's ring. And the letters were sent by posts into all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Yehudi, both young and old, little children and women, in one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, and to take the spoil of them for a prey. The copy of the writing of the commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, that they should be ready against that day. The post went out, being hastened by the king's commandment. And the decree was given in Shushan the palace. And the king and Haman sat down to drink. But the city Shushan was perplexed. Now imagine when we get to our day and how slow things travel, right? Imagine when things went out via the Pony Express from America, from let's say, going from Virginia or New York to California. How slow things travel, right? When Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes and went out into the midst of the city and cried with a loud and bitter cry and came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. And in every province whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was a great mourning among the Yahudi, and fasting and weeping and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes. So Esther's maids and her chamberlains came and told it her. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai, and to take away his sackcloth from him. But he received it not. Then called Esther, then called Esther for Hatak, one of the king's chamberlains, whom he had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai, to know what it was, and why it was. So Hatak went forth to Mordecai into the street of the city, which was before the king's gate. And Mordecai told him of all that happened unto him, and of the sum of the money that Haman had promised to pay to the king's treasury for the Yahudi to destroy them. Also he gave also he gave him the copy of the writing of the decree that was given at Shushan to destroy them, to show it unto Esther, and to declare it unto her, and to charge her that she should go in unto the king to make supplication unto him, and to make requests before him for her people. And Hatak came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. So she wanted to know, I sent you clothes. What's up? Why you ain't wearing them? And she sending a message, and now Mordecai sending a message back to the queen. It's good in the malls. You don't know what's going on here in these streets. He gonna bring her up to put her on game, bring her up to speed. And Hatak came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. Again Esther spake unto Hatak, and gave him commandment unto Mordecai. All the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces do know that whosoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of his to put him to death, except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live. But I have not been called to come in unto the king these 30 days. And they told to Mordecai Esther's words. Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not within thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Yahudi. For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement, and deliverance arise to the Yahudi from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this? So don't think that you're going to be safe because you're up in that palace. The deliverance may come from somewhere else, but that don't mean you're going to make it. You could be viewed as a traitor, right? Deliverance could come from somewhere else. You don't know if your whole reason for being there is for this purpose. So don't be so, you know what I mean? Don't be so scared. Stand up. Verse 15. Then Esther bade them, then Esther bade them return to Mordecai this answer. Go, gather all the Yehudi that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me. Neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise. And so will I go in unto the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish. So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther had commanded him. So keep in mind, brothers and sisters, this is how you fast. This is exactly how you fast. No eating, no drinking. No Daniel fast, right? No TV fast, right? Biblical fast, no eating, no drinking, right? Same. This is how we know exactly how you afflict your soul in the Day of Atonement. Now it came to pass on the third day that Esther put on her royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's house, over against the king's house. And the king sat upon his royal throne in the royal house over against the gate of the house. And it was so, when the king saw Esther the queen standing in the court, that she obtained favor in his sight. And the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. So Esther drew near and touched the top of the scepter. Then said the king unto her, What wilt thou, Queen Esther? And what is thy request? It shall be given, it shall be even given thee to half of the kingdom. And Esther answered, If it seem good unto the king, let the king and Haman come this day unto the banquet that I have prepared for him. Then the king said, Cause Haman to make haste, that he may do as Esther hath said. So the king and Haman came to the banquet that Esther had prepared. And the king said unto Esther at the banquet of wine, What is thy petition? And it shall be granted thee. And why is thy request? And what is thy request? Even to the half of the kingdom it shall be performed. He really liked Esther. Then answered Esther and said, My petition and my request is, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it please the king to grant my petition and to perform my request, let the king and Haman come to the banquet that I shall prepare for them, and I will do it, and I will do tomorrow as the king hath said. Just want to cook for him. You know what I mean? Just want to prepare food for him. Then went Haman forth that day, joyful and with a glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he stood not up, nor moved for him, he was full of indignation against Mordecai. Nevertheless, Haman refrained himself, and when he came home, he sent and called for his friends and Zeresh his wife. And Haman told them of the glory of his riches, and the multitude of his children, and all the things wherein the king had promoted him, and how he had advanced him above the princes and servants of the king. Haman said, moreover, Yea, Esther the queen did not let no man come in with the king unto the banquet. She had prepared but myself, and tomorrow am I invited unto her also with the king. Yet all this availeth me nothing, so long as I see Mordecai the Yehudi sitting at the king's gate. Then said Zeresh his wife and all his friends unto him, Let a gallows be made of 50 cubits high, and tomorrow speak thou unto the king, that Mordecai may be hanged thereon. Then go thou in merrily with the king unto the banquet. And the thing pleased Haman, and he caused the gallows to be made. So the gallows are the stocks to which um, people are hanged on. You've seen it in the olden times. Lord's will add it right here in the video. All right. But that's what gallows are. I'm going to hang this man. For what? Not bowing. Not getting up. Crazy. On that night could not the king sleep, and he commanded to bring the book of records of the chronicles, and they were read before the king. And it was found written that Mordecai had told of Bigthana and Teresh, two of the king's chamberlains, the keepers of the door, who sought to lay hand on the king Ahasuerus. And the king said, What honor and dignity had been done to Mordecai for this? Let me see something about Mordecai's name. Mordecai. 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 Then said the king, so I'm looking at my tools, right, to see the pronunciation and show, you know, because I have the Strongs up on my screen. I have my Bible here, and I also have my screen, which gives me more information about what we're reading, like the Hebrew, the phonetic spelling, and things like that. Um, um, maybe I'll show you a screenshot. Nonetheless, Mordecai. Anyhow, um, then said the king's servant that ministered unto him, there is nothing done for him. And the king said, who is in the court? Now Haman was coming into the outward court of the king's house to speak unto the king, to hang Mordecai on the gallows that he had prepared for him. And the king's servant said unto him, behold, Haman standeth in the court. And the king said, let him come in. So Haman is coming. He's coming ready to say, "Yeah, let's build some gallows and we're gonna hang Mordecai." But at the same time, coincidentally, not coincidentally, the king wants to honor Mordecai for having saved his life. Yo, nothing's ever been done to him. It's like a Hollywood movie. Verse 6. So Haman came in, and the king said unto him, what shall be done unto the man whom the king delighteth to honor? Now Haman thought in his heart, to whom would the king delight to honor more than to myself? So Haman thinking he's talking about him. And Haman answered the king, for the man whom the king delighteth to honor, let the royal apparel be brought which the king useth to wear, and the horse that the king rideth upon, and the crown royal which is set upon his head. And let this apparel and horse be delivered to the hand of one of the king's most noble princes, that they may array the man withal whom the king delighteth to honor, and bring him on horseback to the street of the city, and proclaim before him, thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delighteth to honor. So by Haman's own mouth now, they're about to honor Mordecai with all the things that he thought was coming for himself. Oh, hallelujah. Hallelujah. The irony of it. Then the king said to Haman, make haste, and take the apparel and the horse, as thou hast said, and do even so to Mordecai, the Yahudi, that sitteth at the king's gate. Let nothing fail of all that thou hast spoken. You know this man tight. Then took Haman the apparel and the horse, and arrayed Mordecai, and brought him on horseback through the street of the city, and proclaimed before him, thus shall it be done unto the man whom the king delighteth to honor. And Mordecai came again to the king's gate, but Haman hasted to his house mourning and having his head covered. And Haman told Zeresh his wife and all his friends everything that had befallen him. Then said his wise men and Zeresh his wife unto him, if Mordecai be the seed of the Yahudi, before whom thou hast begun to fall, thou shalt not prevail against him, but shalt surely fall before him. And while they were yet talking with him, came the king's chamberlains, and hasted to bring Haman unto the banquet that Esther had prepared. Look how quickly the turn of events, brothers and sisters. Just as soon as they deduced what was before Haman, hey, here come Might as well call him a CO at this point. Hey, Haman, let's go. Time to go to the feast. Hallelujah. Chapter 7. So the king and Haman came to the banquet with Esther the queen. And the king said, let's see what this word is right quick for queen. The queen word queen here, because I was curious. Malaka. Malak. Malka. 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 Esther's name equals star, Jewish heroine. This is a Persian name given to her. Her real name was Hadassah, daughter of Abihail, cousin of an adopted daughter of Mordecai, the tribe of Benjamin. Okay. So the king and Haman came to the banquet with Esther, the queen. And the king said again unto Esther on the second day at the banquet of wine, What is thy petition, Queen Esther? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? And it shall be performed, even unto half of the kingdom. Then Esther the queen answered and said, If I have found favor in thy sight, O king, and if it please the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request. So remember, all this time he had no idea that she was a Yahudi. For we are sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be slain, and to perish. But if we had been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I had held my tongue, although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage. Then the king Ahasuerus answered and said unto Esther the queen, Who is he, and where is he that does presume in his heart to do so? So you want to know who wants to kill my wife? Who wants to kill my queen and her people? And Esther said, The adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman. Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen. And the king, arising from the banquet of wine in his wrath, went into the palace garden. And Haman stood up to make request for his life to Esther the queen. For he saw that there was evil determined against him by the king. Then the king returned out of the palace garden into the palace of the banquet of wine. And Haman was fallen upon the bed whereon Esther was. Now, just like Edomites will do this. They do the most. Now he's at the queen's bedside. Inappropriate. Then said the king, Will he force the queen also before me in the house? As the word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. And Habana, one of the chamberlains, said before the king, Behold also the gallows, 50 cubits high, which Haman had made for Mordecai, who had spoken good for the king, standeth in the house of Haman. Then the king said, Hang him thereon. So they hanged Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Then was the king's wrath pacified. So what he meant for Mordecai, to hang him in his house, he's now being hung at his own house. Hallelujah. Chapter 8. On that day, the king Ahasuerus gave the house of Haman, the Yahudi, and on that day, the king Ahasuerus gave the house of Haman, the Yahudi's enemy, unto Esther the queen. And Mordecai came before the king, for Esther had told what he was unto her. And the king took off his ring, which he had taken from Haman, and gave it unto Mordecai. And Esther set Mordecai over the house of Haman. And Esther spake yet again before the king. and fell down at his feet, and besought him with tears to put away the mischief of Haman the Agagite, and his device that he had devised against the Yehudi. Then the king held out the golden scepter towards Esther. So Esther arose and stood before the king, and said, If it please the king, and if I have found favor in his sight, and the thing seemeth right before the king, and I be pleasing in his eyes, let it be written to reverse the letters devised by Haman, the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, which he wrote to destroy the Yehudi which are in all the king's provinces. For how can I endure to see the evil that shall come unto my people? Or how can I endure to see the destruction of my kindred? Then the king Ahasuerus said unto Esther the queen, and to Mordecai the Yehudi, Behold, I have given Esther the house of Haman, and him that they have hanged upon the gallows, because he laid his hand upon the Yehudi. Write ye also for the Yehudi, as it liketh you, in the king's name, and seal it with the king's ring. For the writing which is in the king's name, and sealed with the king's ring, may no man reverse. Then were the king's scribes called at that time in the 3rd month, that is the month Sivan, on the 3 and 12th day thereof. And it was written according to all that Mordecai commanded unto the Yehudi, and to the lieutenants, and to the deputies, and the rulers of the provinces which are from Hindustan unto Ethiopia, Cush. So from India unto Ethiopia, which is Hindustan unto Cush, and 127 provinces, unto every province according to the writing thereof, and unto every people after their language, and to the Yehudi according to their writing, and according to their language. And he wrote in the king Ahasuerus' name, and sealed it with the king's ring, and sent letters by post on horseback, and riders, and mules, camels, and young dromedaries. What is a dromedary? Mare. Really? Foreign origin, a brood mare, dromedary. When the king granted the Yehudi, which were in every city to get, when the king granted the Yehudi, which were in every city to gather themselves together, and to stand for their life, to destroy, to slay, and to cause to perish all the power of the people and provinces that would assault them, both little ones and women, and to take the spoil of them for a prey. Upon one day in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus, namely upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, the copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, and the Yahudi should be ready against that day to avenge themselves on their enemies. This was like, imagine the movie The Purge. This is a day in which the king Ahasuerus is now granting on this 13th day, right? Read that again. Wherein the king granted, I'm going to reverse Esther chapter 8, verse 11 again. Wherein the king granted the Yehudis, which were in every city, to gather themselves together and to stand for their life, to destroy, to slay, and to cause to perish all the power of the people and province that would assault them, both little ones and women, and to take the spoil of them for a prey, upon one day in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus. Namely, mainly, the day in question is upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar. Right? So on the 13th day, the Jews, the Yehudi, had permission to kill. They had permission to to kill anybody that they thought would do them harm. This is a day of purge, if you will. like what we know today, right? Verse 13. The copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, and the Yahudi should be ready against that day to avenge themselves on their enemies. So the posts that rode upon mules and camels went out, being hastened and pressed on by the king's commandment, and the decree was given at Shushan the palace. And Mordecai went out from the presence of the king in royal apparel of blue and white, and with a great crown of gold, and with a garment of fine linen and purple. And the city of Shushan rejoiced and was glad. The Yehudi had light and gladness of joy and honor. And in every province and in every city, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, the Yehudi had joy and gladness and a feast and a good day. And many of the people of the land became Yahudi, for the fear of Yahudis, for the fear of the Yahudis fell upon them. So in this stage, you see a lot of people, for fear of the Jews, fear of the Yahudi, decided to become proselytes, right? I'd rather, you can't beat them, join them. Yosemite Sam used to say, right? Um, let's see right here. It says became, hmm, they have paired a verse here. Psalms 18:43, Thou hast delivered me from the strivings of the people, and thou hast made me the head of the heathen. A people whom I have not known shall serve me. Hmm, interesting. Hallelujah. Right? Ain't this glorious to hear? Chapter 9. Now in the 12th month, that is in the month Adar, on the 13th day of the same, when the king's commandment and his decree drew near to put in execution, in the day that the enemies of the Yahudis hoped to have power over them, though it was turned into the contrary, that the Yahudis had rule over them that hated them. The Yahudis gathered themselves together in the cities throughout all the provinces of King Ahasuerus to lay hand on such as sought their hurt, and no man could withstand them, for the fear of them fell upon all people. And all the rulers of the provinces and the lieutenants and the deputies and the officers of the king helped the Yehudis, because the fear of Mordecai fell upon them. Mm-mm-mm. For Mordecai was great in the king's house, and his fame went out throughout all the provinces. For this man Mordecai waxed greater and greater. Thus the Yehudi smote all their enemies with the stroke of the sword, and slaughter and destruction, and did what they would unto those that hated them. And in Shushan the palace the Yehudi slew and destroyed 500 men. In Parshandatha, and Dalphon, and Asphatha, and Porata, and Adaliah, and Aradatha, and Parmashata, and Arasai, and Aradai, and Vaz, Vajadet, Vajadeta, the 10 sons of Haman, the son of Hamadatha, the enemy of the Yahudis, slew they, but on the spoil they laid not their hand. So ain't nobody want nothing from Haman's house, but they killed his kids. And on that day, the number of those that were slain in Shushan the palace was brought before the king. And the king said unto Esther the queen, The Yahudi have slain and destroyed 500 men in Shushan the palace. And the 10 sons of Haman, what have they done in the rest of the king? What have they done in the rest of the king's provinces? Now what is thy petition? And it shall be granted thee. Or what is thy request further? And it shall be done. Like they've done all this here. What more else would you like, baby? What else, my queen? My queen, what else would you like? Then said Esther, if it please the king, let it be granted to the Yahudis which are in Shushan to do tomorrow also unto this day's decree, and let Haman's 10 sons be hanged upon the gallows. And the king commanded it so to be done, and the decree was given at Shushan, and they hanged Haman's 10 sons. Now, the 10 sons of Haman, the enemy of the Jews, slew they. So they're already dead, right? Because verse 10, Esther chapter 9, verse 10 says, the 10 sons of Haman and the sons of Hammedatha, the enemy of the Jews, slew they. But on the spoil, they got their hand. So they're dead. But Esther's like, look, even with their dead bodies, let's now hang them on the gallows. Let's send a message. Remember, this is her property now. He's giving it to her. Right? Then said Esther, if it please the king, let it be granted to the Yahudis which are in the Shushan to do tomorrow also according unto this day's decree. Right? Now this is the 14th day. And let Haman's sons be hanged upon the gallows. And the king commanded it so to be done. And the decree was given at Shushan, and they hanged Haman's 10 sons. For the Yahudi that were in Shushan gathered themselves together on the 14th day also in the month Adar, and slew 300 men at Shushan, but on the prey laid not their hand. So even on the next day they still killing. Another 300. But the other Yahudi that were in the king's provinces gathered themselves together and stood for their lives, and had rest from their enemies, and slew their foes 75,000. But they laid not their hands on the prey. So they ain't want none of what their enemies had, even though they were granted permission to take what the enemies had. They said, "No, we don't want that. We just want your life." On the 13th day of the month Adar, and on the 14th day of the same, rested they, and made it a day of feasting and gladness. See, this is the history, brothers and sisters. They don't want you really knowing this is your black history. Don't want you knowing this is really how your people was able to come together and get down and be a people. This is black heritage. This is, they say we in the month of February, right? Black history. Here you go. Hallelujah. Share this every Black History Month. Right? I'll read that verse again. But the other Yahudis that were in the king's provinces gathered themselves together and stood for their lives, and had rest from their enemies, and slew of their foes 75,000. But they laid not their hands on the prey. This is why they can't tell you this history. Why would your enemy want to reveal to you this is your history? Histories of triumph and battles and slaying of them. How would they want to tell you that? Now, let's tell you who made peanut butter. Let's tell you who made the little stoplight. Let's not tell you how y'all were warriors. Let's not tell you how your God had delivered you, so you have hope in your God. Let's give you rap, alcohol. Let's over-sexualize you, right? Let's make laws that act against you. Let's keep you down. Let's not tell you the greatness that is really within your people, so you never aspire to seek out your God and please him that he might save you. Because when you have rich, great history as this. Verse 17, Esther chapter 9, verse 17. On the 13th day of the month Adar, and on the 14th day of the same rested they, and made it a day of feasting and gladness. But the Yahudi that were at Shushan assembled on the 13th day thereof, and on the 14th day thereof, and on the 15th day thereof, the same they rested, and made it a day of feasting and gladness. So the Jews at Shushan, they kept this feast on the 13th day, the 14th day, and on the 15th day. They chilled. So they started early, and the other Jews started a day later, right? Mm. Just immerse yourself in the idea of being there, brothers and sisters. Take it into your mind and imagine you're there. This is what's going on. Imagine today you had the ability, right? You had the permission. All the people who have done harm to you, you now have a day to get back, right? If there be any you think that would wish to do you harm, you may exact harm upon them. We wouldn't be given such days. Nonetheless, moving on. Verse 19. Therefore, the Yahudis of the villages that dwelt in unwalled towns made the 14th day of the month Adar a day of gladness and feasting and a good day, and of sending portions one to another. And Mordecai wrote these things and sent letters unto all the Yahudi that were in all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus, both nigh and far, to establish this among them, that they should keep the 14th day of the month Adar, and the 15th day of the same yearly, as the days wherein the Yahudi rested from their enemies, in the month which was turned unto them for sorrow to joy, and from mourning into a good day, that they should make them days of feasting and joy, and of sending portions one to another, and gifts to the poor. And the Yahudis undertook to do so as they had begun, and as Mordecai had written unto them, because Haman, the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, the enemy of all the Yahudi, had devised against the Yahudi to destroy them, and cast pur, that is the lot, to consume them, and to destroy them. But when Esther came before the king, he commanded by letters that his wicked device, which he devised against the Yahudi, should return upon his own head, and that his sons should be hanged on the gallows. Wherefore they called these days Purim, after the name of Pur. I still don't understand that, to be honest. Why Lot, right? Therefore all the words of this letter, and of that which they had seen concerning this matter, and which had come unto them, the Yahudis ordained and took upon them, and upon their seed, and upon all such as joined themselves unto them, those that joined themselves unto them, because many became proselytes because they didn't want to die. And many, hold on, and as such as joined themselves unto them, so as it should not fail, that they would keep these 2 days according to their writing, and according to their appointed time every year, and that these days should be remembered and kept throughout every generation, every family, every province, and every city, and that these days of Purim should not fail from among the Yehudi, nor the memorial of them perish from their seed. Then Esther the queen, the daughter of Abihail, and Mordecai the Yehudi wrote with all authority to confirm this second letter of Purim, and he to confirm it. And he sent the letters unto all the Yehudi, to the 127 provinces of the kingdom of Ahasuerus, with words of peace and truth, to confirm these days of Purim in their times appointed, according as Mordecai the Yehudi and Esther the queen had enjoined them, and as they had decreed for themselves and for their seed the matters of fasting and their cry. And the decree of Esther confirmed these matters of Purim, and it was written in the book. And the king Ahasuerus laid a tribute upon the land and upon the isles of the sea, and all the acts of his power and of his might, and the declaration of the greatness of Mordecai, whereunto the king advanced him. And are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Media and Persia? For Mordecai the for Mordecai the Yahudi was next unto King Ahasuerus, and great among the Yahudi, and accepted of the multitude of his brethren, seeking the wealth of his people, and speaking peace to all his seed. Hallelujah, brothers and sisters. When you hear this, how can you not feel like, wow? You know what I mean? Even as I'm reading this again, and I've read it with my family, but I'm like, dang, Purim's coming up. Yeah, this is a very special day. I'm invigorated even more. I'm encouraged even more to really um to really like embrace the day. You know, really embrace the day, especially when you realize this is what is being hidden from you, brothers and sisters. This is what's being hidden from us. This is why they don't want you to know black heritage. Because then heritage goes back to your origins, right? Heritage goes back to your origins. This is why they don't call it Heritage Month. Because now we'll get to the nitty gritty of what are black people? When are black people from? Nah, they just give us black history. And black history, black is dead in the Black's Law Dictionary. You're not a person if you're considered black. So to give you black history is to give you, this is what we want. In other words, this is what we want you to know about yourselves. We're not going to give you Israelite Heritage Month. We're not going to give you Yehudi Heritage Month. We're going to give you Black History Month. But this is your history, my people. We are the Israelites. Israelites, pronounced Israelites, right? We are the people of the book. We are the Yehudi. This is your history, right? And just remember, every time February roll around, think about this time, right? Think about the story of Purim, what Queen Esther did, putting her life on the line, standing up for our people, standing up for you. And think about how your people got down at this time, how y'all might even like to get down right now if you could. But nah, that one's coming from Yeshua, Mashiach, right? Jehovah has come, he's coming back, right? And when he whets his glistening sword, as the scripture says, what a glorious day that will be. What manner will it be for us? That's why we're working out our salvation right now with fear and trembling. Because if the righteous shall scarcely be saved, what shall it be for you? For what manner? What shall it be for the sinner and the ungodly? With that, let us remember the sister who poured ointment on the Christ's body. Matthew 26 and 10. The book of Matthew, chapter 26, verse 10, and it reads, when Yeshua understood it, he said unto them, why trouble ye the woman? For she hath wrought a good work upon me. For ye have the poor always with you, but me ye have not always. For in that she poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this that this woman hath done be told for memorial of her. So we want to always remember when the word goes out, let us remember the good work that this sister had done for Christ, right? And with that, I'm your brother Bethel. Happy Purim. Happy learning of Purim. Shalom.